Welcome back to another trip planning video. This is for the desert season here in Colorado. So the aspen leaves have mostly all fallen in the alpine. Snow has been starting to fall and is the perfect time to head out further west to the desert. And that often means Utah. Love to go out to the Moab area, the parks around there, just amazing opportunities. But it's actually the case that you don't need to go quite so far. And the very western edge of Colorado does have a lot of really fantastic and underrated canyon areas around the western slope in Grand Junction and Fruita. So one of my favorite resources for Colorado off-season backpacking destinations has been this one blog post from years ago that I've kept coming back to over the years. Good old pmags.com. One of the great classic backpacking blogs for hiking in the West, has this great article here, Off-Season Backpacking Destinations in Colorado, written back in 2015. But a lot of these recommendations have been pretty inspiring and have given me a lot of fun trips over the years. So I was curious if there was anything on this list that maybe I haven't gotten to yet, and if that could be something to try out for this weekend. So I love the way this is set up. It's just kind of introducing a few areas to spark your interest, which are sort of outside the main high elevation peaks of Colorado, and highlighting some of those lower elevation desert canyon zones that might fly under the radar, but do provide great off-season options for hiking and backpacking. Colorado National Monument, I completely agree with this assertion here. It's a small area, but it is a gem. Red Rocks Canyon's beautiful wildflowers in the spring, Desert Bighorn, pretty great underrated spot, national monument outside of Fruita. Dominguez Canyon was a great trip I did in the spring, looping up Big and Little Dominguez Canyons. McInnes Canyon is great. Dinosaur National Monument is wonderful, super underrated, lots of opportunities for some rugged backcountry hiking. And then this one stood out to me, Little Book Cliffs Wilderness. Located east of Grand Junction, this area has nice canyons, a network of trails, and sparsely used jeep roads. Wild horses populate this area. Day hiking usage is higher than backpacking usage. And here we go. Good chance you'll have the backcountry to yourself. It's pretty intriguing. I know the Book Cliffs are sort of up north from Grand Junction, Fruita area, but I have not hiked in that area at all. So clicking on the Little Book Cliffs trip, just skimming through some of these photos here. It looks like some interesting wildlife, wildflowers. Here's a note about an expected spring. Definitely one of the main factors specific to desert hiking in the off season is water, and knowing if there's springs along the route or seasonal pools or anything else to expect. I'd say for a lot of these trips in the fall, I'm usually just going to pack enough water for the whole hike, and if I happen to find some more, then lucky me. Not going to be counting on too many of these seasonal sources this late into October. And then descending out at the end, rock formations and desert blooms. A wonderful trip and just what I needed. So I'm intrigued. I love that he's given very little information here, but just enough to entice me into wanting to look into it more. So let's jump into a map. So looking over on Gaia here at the western slope of Colorado, Grand Junction being the main city in the center, down toward Montrose to the south, which is near the Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Park. Bunch of great wilderness areas over here, including the Colorado National Monument. These are two loops I've done in the past, which I've really enjoyed as kind of 2-day canyon trips. More on those later. But the Book Cliffs area is up here just north of Palisade. And I've never really looked at this before. But looking at it, it does seem like a pretty well-defined area, kind of capturing this terrain up on top of the Book Cliffs, marked by Mount Garfield, which is super prominent when driving on I-70 north of Palisade here. So it looks like we kind of have a system of trails in place. Main Canyon over on the east side. Looks like Spring Canyon climbs up sort of into the middle of the area and gains the high plateau here. Looks like there's a road that comes up and meets that area over by the Monument Rocks that was mentioned in the blog post. And that might be a nice flat area to camp, although I'm curious maybe if this road might have some motorized access. And then looks like this loop just comes right around through this other canyon, Cottonwood Creek. Drops a little bit steeply into that canyon, and then following right through the bottom of this main canyon, pretty flat to make it a loop. So I'll go ahead and route out that direction, clicking out the trailhead. Go up to this junction. And I kind of like the idea of easier walkout at the end, so maybe taking that main canyon down, but starting the trip with this climb up Spring Creek. And then walking along the edge of this plateau over to Monument Rocks. That seems like a good destination for the first day if I want to camp around there. So far that trip is giving me around 11 miles with 2,700 feet of climbing, which seems like a pretty good ratio for what I'm looking for. A little bit of vert, but nothing extreme for sure. And then continuing down there from the Cottonwood Creek Trail down to this junction with Main Canyon, and then back down to the start to finish, 20.2 miles, 3,400 feet of climbing, and the same amount down, being a loop. And that could be a good option. It's going to be all on trail. Not sure how well maintained these trails are, but looking like some road access at the western end and some pretty wide open canyons on the eastern end. So should be pretty easy going. Always a risk in saying that to jinx myself, but I'm optimistic. 2 to 3 mile climb on the first day, and then around the same on day 2, kind of camping up around the high point, which looks like it's at around 6,700 feet. So that's pretty good. The low point's going to be closer down to around 5,000 feet. And then let's go just get a little teaser, take a look at the 3D satellite view. So it looks like we'll have a bit of a climb first thing off the bat, then getting into the main canyon, which looks pretty wide open, a little exposed, maybe just some sagebrush walking along this wash here. And then here's the junction. So heading over to the south, up Spring Canyon, which looks a little narrower, a little more vegetation in there. And then climbing up over some more nondescript ridges. And then, yeah, getting up on the top. And it looks like there's kind of this other intervening valley, and then the Book Cliffs themselves. And this should be cool, just kind of taking in that view for a while, contouring along the edge of the Little Book Cliffs. And then here's where that road joins, and the Monument Rocks area. Let's see if those show up in the satellite at all. Cool. Yeah, it does look like a few big rock formations here to check out. Could be interesting. And then any kind of camping possibilities here. It looks like plenty of flat, sparsely vegetated land that could be a perfectly fine camp spot. Then heading down Cottonwood Canyon. Does look like we might have some cottonwoods or something here, some more greenery at least. Then that trail goes into that canyon, kind of contouring its way down without ever actually reaching the creek, where, yeah, it looks like we definitely do have some cottonwoods in the creek to be expected. And then back to that main canyon where things really open up again. Yeah, it looks like following that out, it's going to be pretty easy, gradual downhill to wrap it up and get back out to the trailhead. So it should be pretty good weather, but we'll take a look at that next. And according to National Weather Service, Palisades looking like 74 degrees on Saturday, 46 of a low overnight, and 75 on Sunday. So it doesn't get much better than that. Winds are just around 5 to 10 miles an hour, it looks like, including at both day and night. And I'm going to go ahead and see if we can get a little bit more accurate by shifting our forecast area over to sort of the high point around this Monument Rocks. See if we can find that here on this little map. Spring Creek, Monument Rocks. Okay, here it is. So if I click there, we'll be up in elevation a little bit more. And so that gives us 66 as a high, low of 44. So a little bit cooler, mostly sunny, and should be good conditions for backpacking. So now I've got my route planned out. I've got the weather forecast. I'm going to look into the Book Cliffs Wilderness Study area and just make sure that there's not any other permits or camping restrictions that I should know about. Okay, so it's a BLM wilderness. Most of the wilderness areas in Colorado are managed by the Forest Service, but the Bureau of Land Management also has a few. And that gives me pretty good confidence that camping is going to be quite open and available. So the area is characterized by gently sloping plateaus, various small canyons, and 4 major canyon systems. Wild horse herd is present in the area. Cultural values of the Fremont culture are found here, as well as several natural bridges and hoodoos. Excellent opportunities for solitude and unconfined recreation. Hiking, backpacking, horseback riding, photography. Sweet. I like it. Okay, notes about directions, road closures. Make sure this is all going to be open. Let's see, what's the name of this access road? Coal Canyon and the Coal Gulch Road, which it is talking about here. Coal Canyon. From Grand Junction, drive past the public service power plant, stay on the main roads 1.5 miles to the parking area. Closed to motorized traffic December 1st to May 30th. We're good on that. Okay, so the trailhead should be open. Should be easy to get to, just 1.5 miles off of I-70. So as far as planning out water, recognizing that I'm not expecting to see any water sources along the route, I'm going to be just carrying what I expect to need for the whole trip, and if I find more, then that would be lucky. I'll bring the water filter along just in case. But since I'm only doing about 10 miles per day, and I would want that 1 liter to last the whole day, keeping a pretty casual pace, maybe 1.5 liters per day will be good. So that'll be 3 liters there, and then I'll also want another 1.5 liters to 2 liters for cooking dinner, breakfast, and making coffee in the morning. So something like 5 to 6 liters is really going to probably be a good bet. But generally, I think other systems should work well. Bring my lightweight tarp, my regular summer mountain layering systems, and my 20-degree quilt should also work just fine for temps in the 45-degree range. Should be pretty comfortable and a nice fall trip out. So stay tuned to see how this trip goes, and follow for more hiking and backpacking content as we head through the fall desert season and into the winter.